Hi all, and welcome to the Tony Tonkin Show. And you've got to excuse Avery and I while we splutter and splur and carry on through all of this in probably the most uncomfortable way I can imagine. So please bear with us. We're going to talk about a number of really quite interesting issues. We're going to talk about Pauline Hanson, which is an exciting topic just on her own. And we're going to talk about her association with Barnaby Joyce, also another exciting topic on his own. And we've got a few people that have joined up. Hi everyone, thanks Smudgley and Julian and Mr. Beach for joining us. It's great that you could be here. Remember, this is your opportunity to have a conversation about those things that matter to you, not necessarily the things that matter to Avery and I. We just pick them. We don't necessarily say whether they're going to be of help or of relative information to all of you, but I'm hoping that you join in the conversation because I know from feedback I've had from other people, often it's not about what Avery and I are talking about. Often it's about what you guys have talking about just amongst yourselves. So thanks for that. And yeah, there's a nasty cough coming out. It's partly my fault and partly Avery's as well. So we do apologise. I've been pretty unwell. Avery is the shining light health-wise amongst this group today, but we're going on. We're fighting on anyway. This is the old Australian spirit. You just keep going, no matter how treacherous it is, no matter what you faced. We're going to fight it. Oh, carry on with that shit. Anyway, we are here, and here's my mate, my buddy, my fellow. I don't know what to describe you as, Avery, anymore, but I don't know, the better looking of the two of us, maybe.
Your fellow septuagenarian.
Oh, don't.
We're both in our 70s.
That was a disgusting word to say. What's
it
sexy? Satarian? Is that what you said?
Septuagenarian.
Okay,
You're
right.
in your 70s, just like me.
Yeah, this is true. And you know what, Avery? The exciting thing is we're not getting any younger.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I said in a post the other day that, I don't know how long I've got going to do all of this. But I did say to people, as long as I'm here, I'm going to enjoy it as best as I can. I'm going to do my thing. And I just sort of mosey on day by day. And if we're able to put something together, we can. And if I can't, I can't.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. But I'm trying to put out as much as I can. Since I've been back, I haven't done much. Didn't do much last week because I was away. But now we're back, and there's lots to talk about. So I wanted to know specifically. So I've got some things up here. We're talking about.
Before we start, Tony.
Yeah. Go for it, mate.
A few weeks ago, we had that little thing where I expressed how much I admire Christianity, and DT. Down in Old Dinger got really, really upset, and she, I don't know. I said I was going to make a video about what that person had to say. Stephen Kingsley, I'm just going to ignore. He's a straw man me. That's all he's done. So not worth engaging. But DT said some interesting things, and I promised I was going to make a rebuttal video, but I've had to put that on hold. I've started doing the work on it. I've had to put it on hold because, as you know, Sasha has been really unwell. She's she's fighting an illness. I'll leave it up to her to tell me when I can sort of announce what's going on.
Sure, mate. We understand.
But I haven't forgotten, and I do intend doing more on that video when I can. But my time is very much consumed with caring for my wife.
I guess the point that we need to make, Avery, is that older people with older partners we tend to have our lives interrupted along
Yeah.
the way, don't we? And sometimes, even though that gets in the way, it shouldn't at the end of the day prevent. It might slow us down a little bit, but it
Yeah.
shouldn't prevent us from doing the things that we enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And I know
I mean,
you enjoy talking about, your love for the Christian church and the
yeah.
benefits that you've gained from
Yeah.
being an advocate for Christianity over the
Yeah. Oh,
years.
yeah. Yeah.
And the fact that you're a white nationalist. Well, the
Yeah.
white part is right, and
Pauline
you're a
Hanson
nationalist in
supporter.
approach. Beg pardon?
Pauline Hanson supporter.
And a Pauline Hanson supporter,
I'm not
and
forget that.
someone who admires, and I
Trump.
know you've spoken about this before, that admires the tenacity of Barnaby Joyce.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that you thought, and I know that you reflected this back to me, that at the time when Barnaby had fallen over in the street on a pot plant, that you thought that was a sort of a sacrificial movement made by him, demonstrating his deep Christian and religious values.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there he was prostrate, just like Jesus was on the cross. And
Yeah.
and you were moved by that.
I was definitely moved by that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now, have we covered enough shit so far? Shall we just
Yeah.
move on to
I
other
think
stuff?
we should get on to the real stuff. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay. None of what I just said was true. So, anyway, but we do need to talk about Pauline Hanson, because I would be interested to know what you think of. There's stacks of people online too, Avery, in case you haven't known. But I would like to know what you think about Pauline's wearing the burqa, and whether or not it should be a piece of clothing that she should be compelled, made to wear in Parliament from now on, simply to hide her ugly face. What do you think of that idea?
I think that she is free to wear what she wants. She would be doing the world a favour by hiding her face. It would be even better if she was to use duct tape and sort of put it across here to help keep her mouth shut. Because I'm getting sick and tired of seeing and hearing all of her racist rants, and I don't think this thing about her wearing a burqa was racist, as some people said. I don't think it was xenophobic. I think it was just stupid.
But okay,
Right.
but why? Okay, given
I don't
that's
think
your
she
view,
should,
why do you think she wore it at all?
because it's a stunt. It was like what's his name, Scott Morrison, bringing in a piece of coal. It was just to gain attention. I don't see.
But attention for what?
Yeah.
What would be the outcome that she would have expected to have had from doing this?
You're asking me to delve into the cesspit that's known as Pauline Hanson's mind. She wants to bring attention to the fact that we've got Muslims that live in this country, and she thinks that they should be kicked out. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
But that's kind of racist, isn't
it? Islam is not a race.
It's well, I guess that the association. That's a good point, and I accept that. But it is it's associated with being Arabic, though, is it not? You don't have to be.
Islam arose in Saudi Arabia, what is now Saudi Arabia. It arose on the Arabian Peninsula by a Semitic person named Muhammad.
Yeah.
In about 1400 years ago, something like that. So it's Arab in that sense.
But isn't it about?
It's Semitic. Hang on, it's a Semitic religion, just like Judaism and just like Christianity. Christianity and rose out of Judaism, which is a Semitic religion. The Arabs are Semitic people, so Islam is also a Semitic religion. And because you inherit from your ancestors, Christianity is a Semitic religion.
So you're arguing then that if you're anti-Muslim for whatever reason, you're also anti-Semitic?
Yes.
Oh, I haven't heard that argument before. I don't know what others will think of that, but that's reasonable.
People wrongly assume that anti-Semitic means being anti-Jew. It means being anti-Semites. Right?
Mm.
Semites are Jews and Arabs.
Yeah.
They're all allegedly descended from Ham, from Shem, the son of the eldest son of Noah, the guy with the boat that didn't float.
Yeah, and then there was the other group, which were all descendants from Bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pauline Hanson, with that, she is demonstrating her anti-Semitism because she's opposed to Muslims. Muslims are not a race, because Muslims can be as white as I am, as white as you are. Well, you're pinker than I am, actually.
Yeah. I'm well sunburnt, mate. But doesn't it mean? But is it about? It is about differences, though, isn't it?
It's
the other. Yeah.
It's her hate for people who haven't got horrible red hair, white skin.
That's right. So whichever way you look at it, it is about divisiveness.
Yes.
Right.
So she's done that to say, look at the vast majority of Muslim women do not wear the burqa.
Yeah, and I've said this actually in my post about this the other day. I did watch. Sorry, go on.
I just said another thing for Pauline. The vast majority of Muslims do not strap bombs around their chests and get onto a school bus.
And they don't. She brought in the argument that we have a law where people can't enter into a bank with a helmet on.
Yeah.
Well, I actually don't know of any women with a burqa who have actually robbed a bank either. But I know that there have been a number of men who have robbed a bank wearing a. It's just stupid.
And I think if the women are wearing a burqa, if the women are wearing a burqa, I'm not convinced that women wear it because they want to. Right? Maybe they do, but I doubt that. Personally, I'm skeptical.
Just on that point, Avery, I have heard some time ago that there are some women who feel comfortable wearing a burqa, and the reason for that is that they are anonymous in every possible way.
Yeah,
and for some women, they feel safer, believe it or not, wearing a burqa. And maybe that's in relation to the countries from which you've come.
I'm skeptical that it's not. I'm not saying that there's no women that wear a burqa that don't want to wear a burqa.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I'm sure there are some, but I'm just not convinced that the women, the majority of women that do wear the burqa are wearing it because they want to. They're wearing it because they've been told they've got to.
Yeah,
nobody in the burqa's been around for about 1,100 years. Right? It didn't start with the rise of Islam. 300-400 years later, it came in with I can't remember the guy's name.
John. His name was John Burqa.
Yeah, I do know his name. I can't remember it. He was the guy that Muslims used to lead the world in science, and then this guy came along and said, "That's not mentioned in the Quran, so forget it." Right? And he just took them back. They were the astronomers. They were
So you say that this guy was the original Donald Trump?
Yeah,
or JFK.
RFK Jr.
RFK, right? Yeah.
He was an Arab version of RFK Jr. 900 years ago. Right?
Wow, there we go.
And the burqa's been around since his days, right? But it's in recent times. It's only with the rise of the Taliban that women were wearing it, because the men said you've got to do it. Which is why I'm not convinced that the majority of women who wear it are wearing it because they want to.
No, you're probably right.
Although I don't doubt that some do. Now, Pauline Hanson wants to paint the picture that all Muslims are evil, and all Muslims treat women like this, and all Muslims strap bombs on their chests and go and blow up school buses and shit like that, because she's a hateful, racist bigot. Hateful bigot.
So now that we've done an in-depth analysis,
she equates Islam with race.
Yes,
and it's not. It's nothing.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. But then it brings us back to the original question, Avery: is what do you think was motivating this crazy woman to do what she did, and decide that she's going to wear a burqa? I think she did this 7 years ago and looked like a dick. She's done it again. And this time she's gained. I think she's gained more footage from it.
She looks like a closed beach umbrella. Oh, she's. I thought I just spent the past 5 or 6 minutes, explaining about how hateful she is.
Yeah.
She's done it because of just hate of the other.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. She wants Muslims out of this country. Doesn't care how they got into Islam. Right. Whether they were born into an Islamic family or they converted from Christianity or Hinduism or whatever it happens to be.
So this is by Mr. Beach. And that's a good point. Don't you reckon? There are plenty of Islamic women doctors. They cover their hair and wear modest clothing, but so do lots of male doctors with bandanas.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
No one's going to deny that. I think, and so they brought up this issue about whether or not, what they say. So, so you're not allowed to bring along props, into Parliament.
And the burqa's a prop.
And the burqa's a prop. That's right. Well, it was definitely used as a prop. But there again, you've got to say, if someone was elected and had a Muslim faith and chose to wear the burqa all the time, then it wouldn't be a prop, would it?
Not for that person, no. But
no, not for that person.
Pauline Hanson is not a Muslim, right? And she doesn't wear the burqa all the time. So the prop in her case.
It is a prop.
But if Pauline Hanson was born and raised into a Muslim family, raised as a Muslim and chose to wear the burqa, then she's free to wear it. But there she's just doing it out of hate.
So there's this other question that sits around. There's two questions really, and that was the getting Barnaby Joyce to sign up, which he did today. I think he was planning to do it today anyway. Barnaby Joyce. So I'd like to know what people online think about Barnaby Joyce leaving the Nationals and signing up for What Nation. Pardon me, because that will then mean that this will be, I think, the first time that One Nation have a candidate in the lower house, I think, or have a member in the lower house.
A member. I don't recall. I don't recall.
I might get you to speak for a minute, Avery, while I recover.
Yeah. So I don't recall them, One Nation, ever having a member in the lower house. They've had several in the upper house. And they can certainly have them. If Barnaby does join them, then I do think you're right that he would be the first one in the lower house. But I don't think that they're gaining. I don't think One Nation are gaining anything by having him join them.
No, I don't. I don't even know his logic. I think at the end of the day, Barnaby feels so isolated in the Nationals, and even further isolated, obviously, because of the Liberal Party as well, and what's happening there, that he's been so ostracised, he kind of had nowhere to go. He was like backed into a corner in a way, and he still needs to be relevant. So the only way he could be relevant was to join a right-wing party that was further right even than the Nationals.
Yeah,
it's a bizarre situation, but it's a bit like Mark Latham. Mark Latham going from the Labor Party to One Nation is even a further extreme, I think. But this is an effort by these dudes to find some sort of relevance.
Barnaby Joyce was already on the right of politics.
Yeah.
Not the right side of politics. The right side of politics is actually the progressive side. That's the correct side. That's the way I was using the word right. But he's not on the correct side of politics. To do that, you'd have to be a progressive like you and me,
Yeah.
right? Barnaby Joyce was on the right side of politics, so it's not that far to go from where he was. Say when he was deputy PM or whatever it was to Scott Morrison a few years ago.
Yeah.
Not that far for him to go to One Nation. Mark Latham going from the Labour Party,
leader of the Labour Party, in fact,
leader of the Labour Party, to One Nation. That would be like Joseph Stalin joining the Nazis.
Yeah. So it's bizarre. It's these movements these people take, and so you just got to wonder whether or not the reasons why they make these sorts of moves is because they need to still have their name up in lights somehow, and the only way they can do that is by becoming extreme.
One Nation has grown in the numbers have grown, but they've not. They've what, about 15% now?
No, 20% now.
20%. I knew it wasn't much. It wasn't that high.
They're only 4% behind the Liberal Party.
That's not a high bar to cross nowadays, is it?
No, it isn't. But it does. So I reckon I have this theory. I'll run it past you. My theory is that a whole lot of baby boomers like us have decided that we've got enough of both parties, either parties, whatever. And the only way, and we're not going to go green because that's just too far left and too progressive. So we're going to go right. We don't like politics in general. So we're going to choose as far right as we can, because at this point in time, the Nationals and the Liberals have got nothing to offer, bugger all, in fact. And people are saying, well, look, I can't vote for them anymore, so where in the hell do I go? So when someone throws them a poll and says, who would you vote for at the next election, which happens to be 2.5 years away, they say, oh, well, I'll vote One Nation. But I reckon, my theory is this, that those people will return to the Liberal Party once the Liberal Party can get their act together and Susan Lee can last longer than 12 months.
Well, that's not going to happen. Or I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if Susan Lee lasts more than 12 months. But for, people coming back to the Liberal Party, that's where they belong, if you know what I mean. So that's where they'll go eventually.
Yeah, and I think we need to acknowledge that when it comes to the polls, this is just simply people making a decision about which side of politics they are at this particular given point in time. And that itself is likely to change, because One Nation are becoming quite excited about the fact that they're approaching this magnificent 24%, which is where the Liberals are at.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would, if they field candidates in the lower house elections in next year, a year after next, right? They've got a good chance of winning seats. That's if they are still at 20% in 2 years' time.
Well, the point is that it would be a very, very difficult hill to climb, simply because they don't have anybody in there at the moment, plus Barnaby, I guess. But they also must realise that there's some pretty good parliamentarians already holding some of those seats. To unseat them is a pretty stiff order to ask, I reckon. So it's unlikely.
I was going to say that the whole world lurched somewhat to the right with the election of people like Urban in Hungary and the Orange Hitler in the United States. What's his name I can't remember his name. The guy that won in Poland, the guy that won in Slovakia. The world lurched a little bit to the right, and then it saw what Trump was doing, and it said, "Hang on, I'm not so sure I like this." And we seem to be moving slightly back, back towards a more centrist position. And so I'm not convinced that the One Nation is going to be second largest party or anything like that in the at the next election. I
No,
don't
neither
think
am I.
no, I don't think
Neither
that
am I.
they're going to be.
Have I lost your sound, Avery?
You lost my sound.
Oh no, it's back again. Sorry.
Oh, I just stopped talking because I saw the note.
All right. So
What was that?
this is
Tony and
I
Avery.
Tony and Avery. See, that's what happens when you stop talking. I don't hear you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
terribly embarrassing, Avery.
yeah.
Hi, Tony and Avery. I think Barnaby needs to be put out in front like silly Pauline because it's not happening at the Nationals. He's right.
Yeah.
She's right, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't know whether Terry's a he or a she, but nevertheless.
He's a marginally prettier face than Pauline, but that's not a difficult bar to cross either. So
No, that's true. That's
and
true.
I don't like the sort of thing that she did, never have done, and I've never been overly impressed with Barnaby Joyce.
Yeah. So someone said PRW says they are paid propagandas agents just like the LNP, and that's true also. Thanks very much for that. And someone did mention Gina Reinhardt too, Avery, as being a person that is funding a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And she and I thought that one of the classics was Gina Reinhardt, along with Pauline Hanson, turning up to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ass of Donald Trump. What a classic move that was.
It's a picture I don't want in my head, and I thank whoever suggested it. So for putting that picture. I just remember something you were saying about the Greens. You just mentioned the Greens a moment ago.
Yeah.
You know the political compass is, don't you? It's where it's a thing you can do where you answer a whole bunch of questions and it tells you whereabouts on the political compass you are. You're over here on the right. You're over here on the left. You're centrist. Are you the
ABC used to put that out, didn't they?
Yeah.
Called Compass, in fact. Yeah.
Yeah. And I filled out that questionnaire, and when I looked at where I was, the Greens are way over to my right.
Well,
I was quite surprised. I thought I was going to be a little bit left of centre, and the Greens were way over there. They were over by Barnaby Joyce and Pauline Hanson.
I think you're just a radical. You're just a radical old fart, actually, Avery. There's no other way of describing it.
It just really surprised me that my politics was so far left. I'd never realised it. I mean, it was almost Marxist in some ways with the some of the things that I believe.
Here's an interesting one.
Karl Marx said that any society increases its wealth without doing something about societal dysfunction and improving the lot of the average person is not a society worth living in. I'm paraphrasing him. Right?
Well, I think coming from you, it's just as significant.
Sorry?
It's just coming from you. It's just as wise and just as prophetic as I could imagine he said it.
He's basically saying that the richer a society gets, the more it should be investing in improving the life of the people living.
Absolutely, of course it should be, but it doesn't.
No,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Someone says here. Brian says, "Be interesting if One Nation and National Party formed a new coalition opposition." I haven't thought of that actually.
Yeah.
Neither interested in forming government, but may pay and a platform. But more pay and a platform. I don't know. Look at the Libs have something and go begging to Tills. Yeah, I think it's probably reasonable to suggest that they might think about. I think with Barnaby Joyce though heading off to One Nation probably has put any possibility of One Nation and Liberal Party joining forces out of the realms of possibility, I would imagine, because I don't think anyone in the National Party would want to go near Barnaby Joyce with a barge pole.
I don't think they would. I don't think the Liberals would want to have anything to do with him either.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. But is it possible? The question is a good one, though, Brian. Is it possible for One Nation to find an alliance with somebody else now that Barnaby's made that split? Is it possible for there to be more National Party people like Matt Canavan, who are extreme right, to move over to One Nations? And if enough Nationals move over to One Nations, would that mean that then that is the split that one's talking about? You know, it does raise some interesting questions, I reckon.
If you get enough of them move across,
and it's
if
and there's on the other side of things, Avery, there's this notion that a lot of Liberal Party members may move over to Nationals.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a slow movement over to the right from Liberals to Nationals to One Nation.
I think
that may take place.
Let's say Matt Canavan moves across to One Nation.
Yep.
We've got Barnaby Joyce moving there right now. I wonder what their constituents think of that move, because they've got no say in it. The people that voted for Barnaby Joyce as a national candidate in the last election voted for him because of his national politics. What do they think about him saying, "Oh, now I'm One Nation," and they've now got a One Nation MP representing them? How would Canavan's voters, the people who voted for Canavan or any of the others in the National Party, if they moved to the One Nation, how would those constituents feel about that move?
Well, they would be, they'd have a chance to vote him out.
Yeah.
At the next election.
So
welcome to democracy.
And so what I was thinking there is that if they're true nationals, not One Nations, then this is Barnaby Joyce's retirement plan. If Matt Canavan moves across, maybe it's his retirement plan as well.
Matt Canavan's too young and too obnoxious to see this as an opportunity to eventually leave. But they might certainly, I take that point, they might certainly see One Nation as an opportunity to grow a party which hasn't really grown under Pauline Hanson all that much, over the 35 years that she's been there or whatever it is. An appalling period of time, quite frankly, given that she's an appalling human being.
Yeah. I don't see that it's going to grow any. It's growing. There's no doubt about that, because it was 5% a few years ago and it's 20% now.
Yep.
So it's definitely growing. But is it going to grow to the point where they're going to win sufficient seats to form a government?
No, never will.
No, I don't think that Barnaby Joyce or Matt Canavan or any of the other nationals moving across it is going to make any difference.
Yeah, and part of the reason for that, Avery, is that the real hiccup in the electoral system at the moment is the fact that Gen Zs are all progressive.
Yeah.
So they're the ones thinking ahead, thinking, well, look, my God, there's going to become a time where we're going to have to face up to climate change, because these old farts aren't going to do it.
Yeah.
Because they're on their way out. The Pauline Hansons of this world don't give a shit. The Susan Lees don't give a crap either.
No.
And so on. So, we've got to look after ourselves. So we're not going to vote for those guys at all. We may, and we're also getting our HECS debts cut by 20%. So the young people are doing all right, except for housing. Can you imagine? I have this fantasy, I guess, and the fantasy is that that the housing issue is kind of resolved, that to a point whereby more houses are being built, more people have an opportunity of buying their first home, the government's assisting them, whatever, and suddenly there's this uptake of housing which hasn't been there before because it's been neglected for 40 years or so. So all of a sudden, all these young people are finding that they can afford to buy a house with government assistance. Once that issue is dispensed with and renewables are in place, and we've got 80 to 90% renewables, where in the hell, if that does eventually happen, where does that place the Liberal Party and the Nationals and One Nation and shit? Where does it place all of them in terms of combating whatever it is that they believe the Labor Party represents? God, hold on. Is this Avery's?
You've got
Avery
me.
can't. Avery's speechless.
Where does it leave them?
Yeah.
I would hope. Well, no, when I take that, I was going to say I'd hope it would leave them out in the wilderness. But no, I don't. I would hope that they would move more back towards the centre.
Ah, this is my point.
Yeah,
That's
I would
so
hope
okay.
I'd hope it would drag them, because the worst thing that could happen. You look at any country that's been led by one party and one party for decades, right? Human rights go out the window.
Are we talking like China and
Yeah,
and
China,
Russia?
China is a rich country, but human rights are appalling. Russia is a poor country; its human rights are appalling. But both of them led by one party, the Communist Party in both cases. So for Australia, if Australia was to, if the Labour Party here was to get all housing and all the other things sorted out, so everybody had a house, the healthcare was not an issue whatsoever. They solved all that lot. I still wouldn't want to see them as being the only party that ever people voted for every single time, because
because every democracy needs a strong opposition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So I agree. I wouldn't like to see that happen either. In fact, right at this point in time, I believe that the majority government the majority that's now being held by the Albanese government actually is unhealthy, because they know that for at least 6 years they're not challenged to do the things that they could really and should be doing. Namely taxing gas, or making sure more gas stays in Australia, more the mineral organisations like Gina Reinhardt are given the boot, and or they have to pay more tax, and free education, free childcare right across the board. All those things that we know would win votes. The Labor Party now has an opportunity to do, and they have an opportunity to have that paid for by charging the mineral sector more for the stuff they dig out of the ground.
Yeah,
but they don't need to do that, though, do they? Right at this moment,
they don't need to right now, no, because they're there for the next 5-6 years.
Yeah,
they don't need it.
But that's why we need a strong opposition that would challenge. Now, the other question which you raised, which I think is a brilliant question, because firstly you didn't know you raised it, but I'm raising it now because I thought of it when you said it, and that is follow the bouncing ball if you can. Because I think that I reckon that any party now, if it gets to a point where you can go no further right, you could argue immigration till you're blue in the face, whatever, but they could bring immigration down to 100,000 people a year, and people will still argue it because it just then becomes racist, basically. But once that's dispensed with as well, where do you move? So as a party moves further progressive, which the Labor Party are unlikely to do, but it'd be nice if they did. I criticise them for that all the time. But if they did, where would the right wing go if they were to move further to the left?
Well, where would the right wing go if they started moving towards the left?
If they became more moderates, what could they become more moderate over that still isn't about becoming progressive or buying? So there must be an area of political upheaval that they could start to argue. Now, anybody in our discussion at the moment, help me out here. What areas could the right wing start to argue that are not about mass immigration, that are not necessarily about housing and the state of the economy in terms of affordability, but what areas could they be yelling and screaming about that would get attention?
That is a really good question.
I'm looking at the comments here, hoping that.
No, that's a really good
question. Someone
says,
PWR says, I like this. I'll just pop this one up.
Yeah.
PWR says, "Come on, Labor, don't screw this up."
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's my fear too, that they will actually.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I feel
Oh,
so.
no, your question is a really good question. What sort of topic could they talk about to stir things up? They haven't. Well, their go-tos are defence and law and order.
But I have got an answer. I haven't asked that question without an answer, Avery.
No, that's the right way to ask a question. Know the answer. Go on.
Yeah. My answer is become better politicians. Develop a greater sense of integrity, to do greater grassroots representation, to let people know that you're representing them about the issues that matter to them, as opposed to some sort of global view of what the situation and what needs to be the situations that need to be resolved. Come out there and just I reckon some of the lessons we can learn from the Teals is that they don't necessarily have an overarching philosophy.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact that they were grassroots movements that worked intensively within their own community.
Yeah.
And I reckon that if a party was able to do that and focus on that effectively and just listen to people and say, this is what I'm going to do, I promise you I'll do it, and do it, that in itself, developing a different type of politician may be enough to get a party, a host of members elected.
Yeah, no. Politicians absolutely should do that. But what you said, you asked about the right wing, right? So the Liberals, the Nationals, the One Nation, if they were to move to the centre and they would adopt do what you were just saying, talking to the people, not at them and stuff like that, not having sort of governing philosophy, right? That should apply to all the politicians, right? Not, but you were asking specifically about right-wing politicians. Left-wing politicians can do the same thing. I mean, you listen to Labour MPs when they give their speeches. They don't go and talk to you and me about what it is that concerns you, what concerns me. They talk in generalities, right? When in the U.S. election, Kamala Harris. One of the reasons I said to Sasha that I thought Kamala Harris lost was because she was talking all these great, big, grandiose democratic talking points. Instead of going at great big conventions, with thousands and thousands of people there, instead of going into cafes and talking to people who are in the cafe, instead of going to the supermarket and asking people what they thought about the prices of the goods in the stores, and what do you want me to do about it? Right? Grassroots stuff like that. Yeah. That's why I think she lost. And all politicians of whatever stripe should be talking to the people, not at them. Not telling
that's my whole point.
This is what I'm going to do for you. Yeah. You were saying, you specifically asked about the right, and I'm saying it should be all politicians, not just those. If those on the right were to adopt that, right, that would drag them into the centre. If those on the left were to drag them across this way, how would they address? Yeah.
And and Terry's right. This is Terry or Barry? I can't read it. Barry, I think. So these are the sort of questions that crop up when one thinks about this. I think is when there are, so you can get within a community, and this is my whole idea. So you can get within your community, in your electorate. There could be a number of people with varying views around the environment, for example, is one of them. I would think that a novel way of working would be to, and Barry, let me know what you think of this, would be to get those people who have varying and different views together and work out together with them how they can best bring about the best outcome for everyone. and get them through a process of consensus, if you like, a result which is suitable to all. And I don't think, I don't think this sort of politics is practiced very often, if at all. And all I'm suggesting is that maybe a party could come up with a different form of politics that may very well be enough to bring everybody together, so that some of these issues can be resolved appropriately. And Barry's right. You know, issues like environment and housing and other stuff are certainly issues where people feel divided.
I agree with you. Problem I say is when you say get people together and form a consensus, right? The problem that you've got is you get those people together and you've got Christy Nome, using the United States government as an example. You've got Christy Nome, RFK Jr.
Hold on, Avery. We are not the United States.
I know. The problem of getting people together is you've got to get the right people together. You don't, if you're going to, okay, forget the United States. Let's say you needed to have brain surgery. Would you see a brain surgeon or would you see a carpenter? You need to get the right people for it. You don't talk about climate change with climate change deniers who've got no idea about the science.
Well, if the carpenter was Jesus Christ, I'd get the carpenter.
Well, I wouldn't, because you'd be dead.
Because he knows. He knows all the answers. Yeah, I know. I agree with you. But what I'm saying is that, and where a lot of this comes from is around some work I did years ago in juvenile justice, where we would get, a kid had committed a crime, and we'd get them to sit down with the victim of that crime. And I know this doesn't seem all that related, but it kind of is, because when you start to hear another person's view and the impact that has had on them, then sometimes people will change when they're directly confronted with the impact of that view. So when you get two differing groups of people together to discuss an issue, and people can be emotional about it and talk about it from their own personal experiences, sometimes that changes people's views. Now, my guess is that apart from some form of social group or whatever that you can get together to develop some ideas, apart from what they call them, those think tanks. The think tanks are developing ideas that they agree with in the first place, or they want explored. But I'm suggesting that a community, though, can get together and come up with ideas that they may ostensibly have sides that disagree, but could come to a point of agreement if they sit down and listen to each other. And this is what's missing in our politics today.
Well, they're listening.
We're not listening.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel rather hypocritical saying that, given that I spend a lot of time criticising politicians and the right wing in particular. But God, I watch enough of Sky News to say I am listening. But they could have me on the show, and I'd be happy to listen to them, because I've got lots of questions I'd like to ask them.
Yeah.
And one of the most fundamental questions you can ask anybody, I think, is, I'm really curious as to why you believe what you believe.
Yeah.
Like, where did that idea come from in the first place? Like, what informs you of what it is that you believe? And you can explore that with people. And often when you do, I know therapeutically, you can wind up at a position that startles them, because they come to realizations they didn't know existed.
What I said about me on the political compass, that's exactly how my reaction when I saw where I was on that political compass.
Yeah.
That was way over the left. Right? I'd always thought I was somewhere in the center. But when I answered those questions in that political compass questionnaire, I was way over here. I was to the left of the Greens.
Yeah, and because sometimes we don't know where we are.
Yeah.
In the scheme of things, in the total scheme of things. And some of those people that think they're on the right may find that they have views that actually are more left-based than some of their mates and friends who say that they're on the right as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, my bottom line is, so someone's asked about nuclear debate. Have they community juries, as in the nuclear debate in 2016 SA, was a good example of this. Hey, Elizabeth, can you? I think I know what you're talking about. I think I can remember when this happened. So if you could tell us more about that. This is the great thing about having our community, Avery, chatting about this. Community juries as the nuclear debate in 2016 CSA was a good example of this. And I think this...
Well, that was when the government was talking about using...
waste. Depositing the waste.
Disposal of nuclear waste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, good point. And I want to say something else before we move on, Avery. And I don't know what we're going to move on to now because we've had this great discussion. But I just want to say to everybody, please remember to subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for further notifications. It doesn't cost you anything. Please do that straight away before you start doing anything else. Before you leave this channel, make sure you're in there because it's really important to Avery and I because we're just retired old fucking pensioners and we need some money. And the only way we can get to fuck it. Just do it. Doesn't cost you anything. What the heck? And also send us, you can click a little button on YouTube that will send us some money direct to us, which would be really nice as well. Haven't had any of that today, because this could be that the only people we're dealing with are poor. I don't know, but you don't have to.
The thing that this person said about community juries, it's a good idea. The problem I have with it is that people will emotion comes into it. And there's nothing. I'm not opposed to people being emotive about, having emotions about things, but emotion shouldn't be what drives your decision. Right?
Avery.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Go on then.
No, I'm just saying I disagree.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for a debate. I'm just saying I disagree.
Yeah.
I think we're old pensioners too, says Julian. Good on you, Julian. Well, it's nice to have the old pensioners together. No, I think that emotions inform us about who we are. Emotions inform us. Don't get me started. They inform us not only on where we are right now, but they tell us where we've been, and they also can tell us where we might go in the future. Believe me, I've spent a career discussing emotions.
Yeah,
they are paramount.
I still, if you let emotion drive your decisions, I think that can lead to disaster.
I think I will correct you on this, Avery, because I have the authority here. No, I don't. I just think that emotions, along with rationale and practicality, do go hand in hand. I don't think you could do something just based on emotions.
You'd agree that hatred is an emotion.
I believe hatred is an intense feeling.
Emotions are feelings.
No, they're not.
They're not?
No, emotions are. Don't get me started. Emotions are intense feelings. So I would say I lied there because hatred would sit at the end of those. So hatred, revenge, anger can be argued as intense feelings. Love, compassion, sensitivity, those sorts of feelings can be more moderate feelings and therefore not as intense. But emotions are just a cluster. Anger is just a cluster of emotions.
Yeah. Hatred is an emotion. Hatred of the West is what drove 19 people to fly airplanes into buildings in the United States. Right? People let their hatred of Western culture drive their decisions. Hatred of the Jews in the 1930s led Germany to start World War II.
Yeah.
If you let emotion drive you, right, the extremes, you don't get good outcomes. You can't.
Look, I do agree, but I know
meaning.
I know from my own research and stuff I've done. I developed a therapeutic process called experiential therapy.
Yeah.
Because I was so interested in the way emotions govern us. It's a shame I never made any money from it, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But yes, certainly I agree. So, but can't you get a whole bunch of people together to talk about an idea which has emotions?
Yeah.
Right, that's really good. Someone's experienced some trauma as a result of whatever the issue is that you're talking about. They're going to be emotional.
If I didn't care, I wouldn't be working with a child protection body. If I didn't
that's
care,
true.
And if I didn't care, I wouldn't have been involved in the creation of 3 charities in actual fact. Right? But I do care. But so I base my decisions to work with you on the child protection party on the fact that I care about what happens to kids.
Yeah, so it was an emotional choice based on a need, was it not?
Yeah, but it wasn't based on an extreme emotional position, right? Like hatred of Jews or hatred of the Western culture.
Yes, Avery, but I also know, without getting too personal here, that we also left an organisation because we just didn't like the people on the other side either.
Yeah, but we didn't hate them.
No, we didn't hate them. No. Never hated them. But felt very betrayed by them, I must confess.
Yeah.
Yes, so someone here, a strong feeling derived from your circumstances, mood, relationships, and past. Yeah, and I think, I think they're important.
Yeah, that's
that they all play a part when we're having. So I guess what I reckon is, Avery, that most people, most politicians, do not connect with the emotional content that sits with regard to people's issues. Yeah. And if they were able to connect with them at a deeper level and understand them and get people with diametrically opposed views together to talk about that stuff, then they might be able to develop a political movement that is different to the others. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, I get that. I do get that. But,
it's a Tony Tonkin philosophy of politics, which will never be operationalised.
One of my philosophies in politics is we've got to keep hate out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Well, Avery, we've been chatting now for an hour.
Yeah.
And all these topics.
We had a huge list of topics we were going to talk about.
We did. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other topics to talk about. We haven't talked about one of them. We've only talked about the Pauline Hanson and the government issues, Barnaby Joyce, and that's about it. And we've had 132 people viewers on it today. So, which is excellent because we're back. Avery and I are back. But you may not be here next week.
I definitely won't be here next week. I've got a medical appointment. I have a CKD, chronic kidney disease, and I've got a medical appointment about that next Thursday at 2:45. I've got
hope that it all turns out. Hope that it turns out well for you, mate.
My kidneys are functioning at around about 30% of what they should be functioning at for an old fart my age.
That's no good.
But they've been stable at that 30% for 5 or 6 years now. So,
well, my brain's been functioning at about 10%. But what can I say?
Yeah,
it's just who you are at this age.
I just didn't want to say.
We've done so much ages stuff today as well, don't you think? No, we're battling on. I think people should stay with us, whether you're old or young. I'd like to see more young people joining us, Avery, and having conversations with us as well. Yeah. I will be here next Thursday. I will be here on Tuesday as well, doing a feed. And look, I just want to say before we close, Avery, that I would like anybody who would like to have a discussion. Look, Stephen Kingsley, come on board, you old shit, and have a conversation with Avery and I about the things that matter to you. And those who
and DT, put face and a name to who you are.
Absolutely. This is why, I don't know. I cannot understand. Oh, actually, I suppose I can. I cannot understand why people can shit on you anonymously and then and call you all sorts of names and whatever and put you down, and then not, when invited, then not come on air and face you and have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
You know, I just think it's the ultimate in cowardice.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? We don't have to agree with you. I'm not going to agree with you on almost anything, but I'm happy to hear your point of view.
Yeah, I'm
Just
and with DT,
yeah,
this person could persuade me that they are right about the things that they are claiming. They
possibly.
could persuade me, but to persuade me, they're going to provide evidence, and what they've given me isn't evidence.
Well, you know, hence my new political party.
Yeah.
You know, let's persuade people. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, Avery, stay online. I'll get back to you in 5 seconds. In the meantime, I would just like to say to everybody, please, again, as I said earlier, please subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell for notifications, because we love hearing from you, and we love these moments where we can have a chat. And also make sure that you subscribe and press the button for notifications, so that you can have any of my future videos, of which I assure you there will be many. In the meantime, take care, everybody, and look after yourselves.